Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So today I've got some good news. This should help close out the year on a high note. We're talking about Snope v. Brown, which is the case currently sitting before the Supreme Court that is challenging Maryland's so-called assault weapons ban. This is the case that could end all bans across the country. I want to talk to you guys about what just happened moments ago. So let's get to it. Now, real quick before we get started, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know that one of my absolute favorite sponsors is Attorneys on Retainer. And that's because it's a lot like having an attorney right in your back pocket. So if you're somebody who carries to defend yourself or your loved ones, and you actually find yourself in a situation where you have to defend yourself, but you're the one that ends up in handcuffs, Attorneys on Retainer is right there, and they will be there to defend you. It's not like an insurance company where you have to wait to figure out whether or not they're going to provide you coverage. You speak to an actual attorney. Now, if you need proof that AOR works, they just uploaded a video 3 days ago of that exact scenario. One of their clients was forced to defend himself, but when law enforcement got there, he's the one that ended up in handcuffs in the back of the car, and he's the one that was taken to jail. But because of AOR's quick actions, they were able to get him out. He actually owes his freedom to AOR, and he's one of those people that switched from one of those companies that's supported by insurance. AOR acts fast. They will take care of you, so there'll be a link to that video down below, as well as a link to AOR and some discounts, so definitely check it out. Okay, so let's go and talk about what's going on here with Snope v. Brown. Now, we've talked about this case multiple times on this channel, and that's because I am of the opinion that this is the case that is going to tear open and end all semi-automatic rifle bans across the country. This case is hugely important. It is completed in the lower courts. It is not interlocutory. This is a case that is primed and ready for the Supreme Court. I've also been pretty angry because Maryland has done their absolute best to play games and delay this case. So if I remember correctly, this case was originally petitioned to the Supreme Court back on August 23rd, which means that Maryland had 30 days to respond. So by September 23rd, Maryland was supposed to have their response in. But Maryland didn't have enough time, they said, so they asked the court for an additional 30 days, and the court actually granted it to them. So that means now that they had until October 23rd to reply to that petition. So we were waiting to see what was going to happen with that. Yet again, Maryland says, hey, look, we're stretched too thin. We have too many other Second Amendment related cases that we're dealing with. We just don't have the manpower to deal with this up at the Supreme Court, which I call a load of BS to begin with. But they asked the Supreme Court for another 30-day extension, bringing it out to, I believe, November 22nd. Well, the Supreme Court finally put a stop to it and said, no, you don't need any more extensions. We'll give you a little bit more time, just a couple weeks, but we want your reply brief in soon. And finally, we got it. We got the reply brief, then we got the reply brief from the petitioners, from Snope, and so everything was settled. Now, let me give you some dates just to illustrate how fast the Supreme Court acted on this one. So, November 12th is when Maryland filed their response. The reply from Snope came on November 25th. That was just yesterday. It took less than 24 hours for the Supreme Court to distribute it for conference, which is just what happened today. So the Supreme Court has distributed Snope v. Brown for conference, and that is going to be on December 13th. So we were able to get Snope v. Brown before the Supreme Court for consideration before next year, which is one thing that I know a lot of people were worried about, because the Supreme Court has, a pretty heavy workload, and we were worried that if they got it pushed into next year, we wouldn't find out anything for quite some time. Well, they were able to get it in this year. So December 13th, which is a Friday the 13th, I know, it is going to be conferenced by the Supreme Court, which means we could find out as soon as the following Monday whether the Supreme Court actually takes Snope. Now, if they do, again, I feel that we have pretty much almost like a guaranteed win. Nothing's guaranteed, obviously, but that's at least the way that I feel, just based on the arguments that Maryland has provided, which is absolutely ridiculous, saying that they're not protected by the Constitution whatsoever, which is not really an argument, and then the arguments in favor of overturning the ban. It is something to see when you read through these documents, but at least now we have that date, December 13th, distributed for conference at the Supreme Court. In my opinion, again, the case that is going to tear everything wide open. Now, I know your time is valuable to you, but I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I hope you guys have a nice, relaxing week and you eat a ton of turkey. Like we say in my family, stick in till you stick out. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.